Okay, it being 6:30, I'm going to call this October 13th meeting of the Chelmsford Select Board and Town Manager to order. This is a traffic listening session. Just a little bit of protocol. I'm going to ask that you don't start speaking until you get to the mic so that the Chelmsford Telemedia can pick everything up for the public and for the recording secretary. This meeting is not being televised live, but it will be available via recording after. Also, before you speak, could you please clearly state your name and address for the record? And this is a listening session. We're going to listen, take notes. We're not going to debate or try to solve things here. If someone has said something that you would have repeated, we're just going to ask in the interest of time not to repeat the exact same things. It's okay to reinforce or provide a supporting view or different view, that's fine. I also want to welcome DPW Director Gary Persichetti, Police Chief Spinney, and Fire Department Chief Ryan, and other members of the Traffic Committee here. So we do have 2 emails that we want to read into the record. I'm going to start with one of those now, and I'm going to ask Mark Carrata to read one.
Good evening. This is an email from, I think, Tamara de la Concepcion. Hello, I'm a concerned neighbor living at 245 Mill Road. Early morning, I take my 3 children to South Road School on our bikes, and then we come back in the afternoon. We mostly use the friendly streets in our neighborhood, but once we get to Murphy Soccer Field next to Russell Mill Pond, we need to cross Mill Road to get to the sidewalk on the other side. The visibility at that point is not good, especially for cars coming from the east. We use a special orange safety flag, but we could feel safer. A sign for crossing pedestrians to alert drivers from danger ahead and/or a crosswalk painted on the floor would be of much help. We are not the only ones using that crossing. Every day we see other older kids, probably middle schoolers or high schoolers, coming back home, people walking their dogs, and families going for a hike or a ride into the town forest. Please consider helping our neighbors feel that Chelmsford is a friendly, caring town and making it more accessible for pedestrians and bicycle riders. Thank you for your concern. Tamara de la Concepcion.
Thank you, Mark. Do we have anyone in the room who would like to speak? Come on up to the microphone. And just if you are going to stand in line, I just ask that you leave appropriate distancing for folks.
Can we take off masks?
Sure.
Is that okay? Hi, I'm Brian Latina, Precinct 4 Town Meeting Rep. I live at 15 Jesse Road. And I had several spots, if you will, to comment on. But in general, just for the record, I'd like to recommend that before we put in traffic lights or build new intersections, that we consider the traffic around it. Try to cause the traffic to avoid speeding or having to stop. We can put some stop signs up instead of traffic lights. That would save some money. And sometimes just adjusting the lights themselves or synchronizing them might solve some of our traffic problems. I'm thinking specifically of the Stop and Shop light. Everybody knows where that is on Route 3 on 110. That light's not synced with, I'll call it the Demoulas or Market Basket light, which is not synced to the Coles light. So a lot of us that know the town avoid driving on 110 during traffic periods because the lights get all jammed up, the traffic on those roads gets jammed up. And my wife, even today, routed through the Westlands, passing the Westlands School, which arguably is a danger for the kids if they're out there. And vectors all the way up, catches up, avoiding the Coles light. So places like that, if you could sync them, which I know you can, that would be helpful and that would solve problems there. I'd like the state to also be considered part of our traffic community. Simple things like the double left turn on Route 129 onto Mill Road, which cuts back on a really tight hairpin turn. There's two left turn bays there. Instead, we should change that to a single left turn bay now that we have blinking yellow lights, because you can see at least 100 yards to a quarter mile up the road. That would also require the pruning of the bushes and debris that actually block the Welcome to Chelmsford sign on 129 facing to the north. If you're sitting in one of those two left turn bays, the second left turn bay on the right was designed for people that were driving up to Apollo Computer. We've repainted them for the first time in 12 years and made a line that used to be a white hard line that you can't cross legally. So now the cars are sitting in both the left turn bays, left and right side turn bays, and they cut across in that hairpin turn and try to catch up or pass the car that's properly in the leftmost lane. Very dangerous. And my son was in a handicapped van and I should say T-boned by a vehicle coming off Elizabeth Drive, in part because of those double left lanes. So that needs to be fixed. That's 129 and Mill Road. I'd like to see, as I mentioned, the state cut the trees and grass on 125 at Route 129, both north and south on the inside curves. It's part of Chelmsford, folks. The state doesn't abide by things like clearing the drains, like we have a stormwater drainage committee team that is kind of part of the DPW, I suspect. They don't clear the drains. They don't cut the grass on the right side of the road. So as you're coming off that turn off of Route 3 northbound, for example, on 129, you can't see around the curve. So if you're coming fast and somebody's stalled out there, which I've seen, and I've actually been stalled in that position, somebody could get rear-ended there and hurt. Also, this is the entrance to our new 65-acre 129 area. It really should be cleaned, if not by the state. They've refused many times to even cut the grass on the sidewalk there on 129. Chelmsford should do it so that we can actually sell some property and show that we're as much caring as people that are in, say, New Jersey, for example. They actually clear their intersections. They paint the yellow line. They paint the white line to avoid oncoming traffic issues as well. So the inside curve 129, inside curve on 110 on our intersections. I don't know the one up north if that's been cleared, but the trees should be, they're supposed to be by federal law 30 feet back, but even if you cut them about 10 feet back, that would work nicely. I'd like to see lines, again by the state, painted yellow and white on Route 110 at 495, clear the storm drains and debris there, both on-ramp by Dunkin' Donuts and the off-ramp that comes from Route 495 southbound onto 110. That line, that little island there has been used by the state as a staging area for the last 20 years. They keep using it to the point where there is no yellow line, there is no white line. So if you accidentally come off 110 and turn the wrong way, you could be doing a head-on, like my wife almost had happen to her when somebody mistook the off-ramp as an on-ramp from 110 as they come under the bridge. The other thing the state hasn't done is repaint the triangle lines at the bottom of that intersection. There are now two nice little arrows. They adopted a European model where they put 5 triangles to replicate a yield sign, but cars coming the opposite direction see an arrow when the tire marks wear out the 2 outside ones to the point where there's only 2 arrows pointing the wrong way onto the on-ramp. No white line showing that you've approached it wrong. No yellow line showing that you're actually having the yellow line on the wrong side of your car. Mm-hmm. So head-on traffic onto 110 would be helpful there. Also, in that same area, Route 495 southbound, they have a hard painted line, again, state, sorry, it's in Chelmsford, and I have stopped traffic on that part of the road to get somebody out of the middle of the street. The 110 exit actually has a painted out white striped line that's to try to show you to move to the side and merge back onto the highway. There are 4 lanes if you go back about a quarter mile to the Route 3 intersection, coming from the Lowell connector, coming southbound from Lowell, 490, Route 3 southbound, and the traffic that's already on the highway all have 1 lane to merge. And what the dotted line does, with no arrows pointing to merge to the left, it forces you into the guardrail. I've seen it over and over and over again, where cars are surprised if they haven't lived in our town. They're surprised all of a sudden they have to swerve into the right. I don't know how many accidents are there, but I have seen a couple. Yancey Road, potholes. We walked the circle. We've done it during COVID. And in fact, today my wife almost fell into it with our kid in a wheelchair. There's big potholes along there. They're paved over every year or two, but there's several of them on Yancey Road. It was supposed to be paved, repaved, I understood 2 years ago, and it hasn't been done. So we need the potholes filled there and at the end of Kensington as well. I assume that our town trucks are driving around our regular streets and our residential areas every once in a while. They should be tagging where the potholes and holes and trip points are for residents rather than building huge projects. I know they like to do that, but if we could do some pothole filling, that'd be helpful. Route 129 at Turnpike, could we replace the don't block the intersection signs? When I was coming tonight at 628, as usual, at the intersection of Turnpike and Turnpike and 129 or Billrica Road, the traffic heading northbound towards our River Neck project, even prior to this, I've given the chief some videos of it every time I've seen it. Almost every intersection, red light turning to green on Turnpike, has a car traveling towards Billrica, passing that intersection in the yellow and red lights. So they're actually running the red light. Almost every time I've seen it in the morning from 8 o'clock till 9, every single time. As well, now that the project is going on, people are backing up and blocking the intersections. For some reason, we took those signs down. They are blocking again. Calibrate. Handicap, or the walk signal at 104 Turnpike. This is our fairly recent Kensington projects there. I think there's 368 units. As part of the project there, they put walk signals and a crosswalk crossing Turnpike onto Warren Avenue. However, when they put the lights in the sidewalk area, they block the handicap ramp at either end. On both sides of the street, it's a 2-foot block, if you will. I have pictures of my son. If you continue the sidewalk there, you put the metal canister that holds the sign up directly on the sidewalk. That's not a good idea. It should be behind the sidewalk. And that should be a design requirement for the town. Running the red light. And I agree with that 245 Mill Road project, Murphy Crossing. That's got a big curve on it, and we've added several housing projects in there. So as the cars come on Mill Road eastbound, they would be traveling in a pretty fast pace at that point, and that curve would require a bit of running, if you will, to cross onto the Murphy project area. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to ask Pat Wojcik to read our second email into the record.
Okay, this is from Travis Sullivan. He says he and his family live at 261 Riverneck Road in Chelmsford. I'm writing to see what can hopefully be done to alleviate what I feel is a dangerous intersection in town. Our daughters attend center school, and we often will walk them to and from school. In doing so, we have noticed that crossing the intersection at Billrica Road and Golden Cove is often hazardous due to oncoming traffic. There is a clearly defined crosswalk on Golden Cove Road. However, it's a blind turn from Billrica Road onto Golden Cove, and I believe drivers cannot see pedestrians easily. We always wait to cross when the signal indicates, but drivers will often make a right turn on red from Barica Road onto Golden Cove Road, even though it is prohibited at this intersection. There have recently been 4 occasions when we are crossing at the appropriate time, but drivers have made a right turn on red, and we've had to rush out of their way. There is a sign at the intersection indicating no right on red, but the sign is located behind another set of signs, and therefore not very visible. We have recently had several new housing units built in our area, so I feel there will be additional foot traffic at this location. Thank you for your attention. Best regards, Travis.
Thank you, Pat. Is there anyone else from the public who would like to speak? Any clarifying questions or comments from the folks at the table? Okay, we had a traffic listening session in North Chelmsford last week, and what we identified for the next steps are the traffic committee and the board are going to try to summarize what we've heard and take a first look at it at our public meeting, our next scheduled regular meeting on October 25th, and just look at what we do with the inputs going forward. Any other questions or comments? Okay, it is 7:48, 6:48. I'll take a motion. We have a motion from Ken and the second from Mark Carrata. All those in favor? Aye, 4-0 and 1 absent. Thank you, everyone.